the air disaster site in Dallas, Georgia. And Missy, it was quite a sight, I'm sure, and you brought back a lot of film and information. Could you tell us about it?
It was a bad sight. Mike can swear to that. Keith can swear to that. We got there, I guess, about midnight. Many of the debris was there. There were large crews cleaning up the area. There were many people around the roped-in area. There were many law enforcement officials, I would say at least 200. The Georgia State Patrol immediately came in and set up a field office there, enforced by county officials from around the area. The wreckage, I would say, at least 2 city blocks. The hill started, where the plane first started down, it was a little hill, it went down. He barely missed a schoolhouse. He went down, struck several houses. 4 cars from New Hope were completely leveled. There were 8 passengers in those cars when the plane came down. These are some of the shots of the tail portion of the plane. You can see it's completely demolished. As soon as the plane hit, there was an explosion. Some of the eyewitnesses say the flames went as high as 500 feet.
It was the sort of thing that I don't think anybody who was there that night really could feel confident of what he was seeing. I don't think anybody really believed what they were seeing. I certainly never really felt comfortable at what I was looking at. I could never really conceive that this could happen. I never experienced this kind of a situation before.
I think the whole community was shocked. The law enforcement officials there were shocked. The ambulance drivers, the fire officials, everyone. It didn't even look like a plane. There were very small pieces of the plane left. It was just wreckage.
Give us some help. And I said to my wife, Marie, I said, go to the house and get all the blankets and all the sheets and start trying to get the injured to lay down and to be quiet until we can get some help in here.
Were there a lot of people walking around injured?
Sir, there was approximately, from the time that I went from that point I tore off in our fire station, there's approximately 700 feet up the road from where the plane came in at. And we pulled our 2 fire trucks out. We laid our 2.5-inch lines down to the store that was on fire. We began to start fighting that fire. We pulled number 1 truck on down and unloaded approximately 1,000 feet of line down to the crash of the plane. At that point, we started to fight and fire on the 4 main parts of the plane that was on fire. All parts were burning. At that time, my assistant chief, Mr. Johnny Green Wigley, was driving the school bus. He came on up, and my wife and other personnel in the area began to load the injured on the school bus and carried him to Paulding County Memorial Hospital. During this operation, we combated the fire at the store.
When you left Huntsville, it was pouring down rain then. When did you first run into trouble?
I would say probably 10 minutes into the flight, but I'm not sure because I was reading. And we hit some turbulence, and it kind of startled me. I think everyone else. Everyone looked around, but it subsided then, and then we hit seemed like more turbulence. And someone said that lightning struck the wing, and I think they lost power on that particular engine, and they started into a emergency procedure for crash landings in the event it was necessary. And a little while later, the other engine went out, and then I knew that we were going down. And I just sat there waiting, I couldn't see out. I just looked over a seat and I could see part of the ground, and we were going into it. And prior to that, though, I was talking with the stewardess in the jump seat about the emergency door, opening it, how to open it in case we needed it. So that took up some of my time there. And right after that, we grabbed our ankles and hit the ground. And it seemed like it bumped a couple of times, pretty good bump that I could see out the corner of my eyes. And then it made one big bump, and I guess that's when it tore apart. It was stopped immediately. When it stopped, I undid my belt, got up, and jumped out. And I think that's when the fire hit me. It seemed like a wall of flames. I just kept running. Flames were around me, just kind of licking at me. But I stepped out on the grass and took off across the lawn and where other people were. That's about it.
Would you say this is the worst experience you've ever been through?
I believe it is.
This is something like the view that the pilot of the twin-engine DC-9 had from the cockpit as he realized time had run out. He had to put the plane down. He settled on a stretch of road running through the small community of New Hope. But the road wasn't wide enough, and for most of the passengers, there was no hope left. The wing of the plane sheared off utility poles and hit a small grocery store. The store was demolished, along with several cars parked outside. A family of 7 died in one of the cars. The plane bounced down the road, finally coming to a stop in a clump of pines where it exploded into flames. Both the pilot and co-pilot were killed. Only a few got out alive.
Was maneuvering that plane up to, without stalling the plane and crashing it. He actually landed the plane into the road as best as any pilot possibly could. And I guess if it wasn't for the utility poles and a couple of utility poles, he probably would have slid fairly straight, and I'm sure there would have been twice the number of survivors.
One of the survivors is Don Foster, a licensed pilot. He believes the engines were drowned out by a violent hailstorm.
The first time we got into hail, it wasn't real bad. Then we went into a second area of hail that was real heavy and real bad, and at that point we got the lightning strike. And at that point the right engine went out, and I was sitting right by the left engine, and it was obvious that it was going out too.
The head of the federal team investigating the crash says heavy ingestion of water from hail or rain could have caused the engines to flame out.
Would a pilot be likely to know that this rain was going to be that heavy until he got in it?
He would know from weather forecasts and from ground-based radar that there was weather in the area. However, he might not know that it was intense in where he was heading, as it turned out to be.
A Southern spokesman said the plane was equipped with weather radar in the cockpit and that it was operating at the time of the crash. He blamed the crash on a freak storm of violent intensity which could not have been detected on the radar screen.
The investigators say at this point they know of nothing humanly possible that could have been done to prevent the crash, either before or after events set it in motion. They point out that their investigation is not yet complete. Ken Lee Jones, NBC News, Atlanta.